so we've got a new bunch of leaked papers now on the most prominent politicians and leaders worldwide and how they are laundering money from out of their own countries and into private bank accounts in offshore tax havens. And these leaks are devastating. So first, journalists from more than 80 countries have been reviewing 11.5 million files leaked from the database of Mossack Fonseca. That's the world's fourth biggest offshore law firm. Sometimes the biggest criminals wear suits. Now, all these people, whether it's the businessmen, the politicians, or in the case of the law firm, the lawyers, oh, they're so esteemed. They wear such nice clothes. They dine in the most elegant restaurants, and they're the top of society. Meanwhile, what are they doing? They're taking money that belongs to the people of their countries and funneling it out of the country, laundering it, and putting it in their own pockets. And the lawyers are helping them do that, and they know it. I've got a quote on that in a second. First, who does it affect? 12 national leaders, meaning the leaders of 12 different countries, have used those offshore tax havens. 143 politicians, their families, and close associates from around the world. Okay, it's a lot of folks. So first, let's go to Russia. A $2 billion trail leads all the way to Vladimir Putin, the Russian president's best friend. A cellist named Sergei Roldugin is at the center of the scheme in which money from Russian state banks is hidden offshore. Some of it ends up in a ski resort where in 2013, Putin's daughter, Katerina, got married. So look, that's very important because that's a huge player on the international scene, but it's also indicative of how most of these politicians funnel the money, launder the money. They'll put it into private properties and they'll take it out, they'll wash it, they'll put it into an offshore tax haven, and they go, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't have any money in Russia. Yeah, it's because it's in Panama. And by the way, and this is really important for us here in the United States, when we do a trade deal for free trade with Panama, that's not why we're doing it. There's almost no jobs that come out of our trade deal with Panama. What comes out of it is an offshore tax haven that our rich also use to hide their money. And if they don't pay taxes, guess who does? You. You don't have an offshore tax haven in the Virgin Islands, Panama, or anywhere else. You can't hide your money. You have to pay your taxes. They don't want to. So there's several different angles on this here, but sometimes trade deals make sense. And they have in the past at times, and it depends on the details in the trade deal. But a trade deal with Panama has only one purpose at this point in time. And by the way, that was rare bipartisan support in Washington for that trade deal. Both Barack Obama and the Democrats and the Republicans agreed. You see, they tell you they never agreed. That's not true. Whenever corporations are going to win, the rich and the powerful are going to win, Republicans and Democrats agree lickety-split in Washington. So Panama trade deal, how many jobs? It's not about the jobs. Let's go hide our money. The rich and the powerful agreed in Washington to hide their money in Panama. Now, again, this affects many different places throughout the world. So let me give you some unsurprising parts of this. Among national leaders with offshore wealth are Nawaz Sharif, Pakistan's prime minister, Ayad Alawi, ex-interim prime minister and former vice president of Iraq. Shocked. Petro Poroshenko, president of Ukraine, Allah Mubarak, son of Egypt's former president, and the prime minister of Iceland, Sigmundur Davíð Gunnlaugsson. Okay, you have to excuse every single pronunciation in this story. Okay. Mubarak's son had an offshore tax haven. I do declare. Just shocked to find out gambling in this establishment. Yes. What did you think these dictators and sometimes presidents and prime ministers were doing? Yeah, they funneled the money. Yeah, they put it in their own pockets. And this is how they do it. And some of the fanciest law firms and fanciest banks in the world help them do it. You remember the HSBC scandal? Where they helped not only launder money for terrorists, which is unbelievable that they got it. You know, they didn't even go to jail for that. It's unbelievable. But they laundered $6 billion to the drug cartels. You sell a joint on the street for $6, you're going to jail. They laundered $6 billion for drug cartels. None of them went to jail. Okay, that's how this corruption works. The whole world is bathed in it. All right, now let's go to the UK. 6 members of the House of Lords, I do declare, 3 former Conservative MPs and dozens of donors to the British political parties have had offshore assets. Of course they have. Now let's go to China. The families of at least 8 current and former members of China's supreme ruling body, the Politburo, have been found to have hidden wealth offshore. Say it with me. Of course, all that money in China. They're trying to get it out of there in a panic. They're going to buy apartments in New York. They're buying houses in LA. They're buying property all across the world. It's in an effort to hide the money. They don't want to have it get caught in China. They want to take it out of the country. And then, oh, sorry, you can't get it back. Oh, and if it's in Panama, perfect. It's a tax haven. The whole point of the banks in Panama is to protect your money so that it can't be taxed and so that it can be hidden from authorities. Okay. And to give you a sense of whether this esteemed law firm knew what they were doing, in the immortal words of Marco Rubio, I want to dispel the notion they didn't know what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. In fact, The Guardian reports one leaked memorandum from a partner of Mossack Fonseca said 95% of our work coincidentally consists in selling vehicles to avoid taxes. When they don't pay the taxes, you do. And I've shown this in other charts to you in other programs where the share of taxes being paid by corporations and the rich have shrunk greatly in America, let alone the other countries that we're talking about here. And the share paid by middle-class Americans has risen dramatically because they're doing everything they can to make sure that they don't pay their fair share. By the way, how do you think we get income inequality? This is exactly how we get income inequality. It's not an accident. It's not natural, like, income inequality always happens. No, it is by design. It happens when they pass laws to their benefit, when they cut their own taxes and they increase your taxes, they increase the burden that you have to pay in taxes, and it happens when they set up offshore tax havens and then sign off on trade deals that allow them to hide their money in places like Panama. That's how we get income inequality. It was designed by these people for these people. We used to have a country that was by the people for the people. Now it's by the rich for the rich. Okay, and as you can tell, the corruption, unfortunately, is worldwide.